George Washington. That is not George Washington. I don't know what that is. And we're back. Just like that. You're gone for 2.5 years. Yeah. I don't know. I was just checking to make sure that we're on.
That orange probably kind of weird.
Hey,
Hi.
how you been?
It's not like we don't exist because there's no YouTube videos.
It's been a long time since the last time we talked was
A year and a half
A year and a
ago.
half
The
ago.
last words in the woods.
we only talked during, but yeah, good. I don't even know how to do this anymore. That's just weird.
We're starting afresh, babe.
Yeah,
It's whatever we
ground
wanna
zero.
do.
So
We cannot disappoint our viewers.
I think we've already disappointed them.
They have been waiting on pins and needles for over a year. This better be good.
Aunt Kim, she's not disappointed. She always will stick by us
That's right.
through all in all.
Loyal.
She is loyal, very loyal. So,
How was the
Yeah.
first week of school?
first week, yeah, it was fantabulous. It was exhausting yet amazing. And just enjoying it. Yeah, how about for you?
It's good.
Yeah, you were in every day though. You
Pretty
tried to
much.
get out of there.
I tried.
Nice try.
The
Yeah, I wasn't
kindergartner.
What?
So we got the kindergartner, so
Yeah.
I had to be around. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's good.
Yeah.
I think the getting back into the swing of things
Mhm.
is always the issue and routines and
It's an adjustment. You can tell by Thursday all the kids were done.
Yeah.
they needed to
toast.
sleep in.
Babies. I think I needed to. All of us needed to sleep a little bit.
That was good though. It's gonna be a good year.
Yeah, you know, this brings me to what I was going to talk about. Fancy that. Good segue. I don't think you segued, but this book, Eight Errors Parents Make and How to Avoid Them, by Michael Brock. Read this over the summer, and it was awesome. You know, I
How many of the 8 do you make?
I make 9 of them. Like I make a couple twice over. There's lots of highlights in here.
Yeah.
So, but I think it's good. You know, like when we come back to, I'll talk a little bit more about that. But when we come back to the school year, you know, some of those routines you kind of miss and you forget, and then getting kids back in to the swing of things, you can kind of. I think over the summer you you can start to, I didn't say backseat parent, but that's not really it.
Get lax on things.
Get lax, yeah. You just kind of, you're going with the flow a little bit, and now it's crunch time,
Yeah.
and going off of that. So I think it's important, you know, to kind of go through and reevaluate. You know, we always need to do reevaluation right,
Mm-hmm.
as parents, and so it talks about blame shifting.
Mm-hmm.
Parents, you have to take responsibility for your kids. Sorry, that's what God did. Having low expectations. Parents today seem to have wrong expectations about the whole concept of raising children. So you have, well, you know, like little Johnny's just this, or little Susie's just, you know, you have a low bar set for them. And you say, okay, this is based on external things that are going on rather than not looking at kind of internally.
Yeah. Or like if they're like a toddler's cranky and you just say it's because they didn't get a nap.
Right.
Is that kind of the same thing, or is
Right,
that
same- yeah,
like
yeah.
making excuses
Right.
for bad behavior?
And I think that's the part of the blame shifting
Sure.
too. And there's, you know, there's definitely, your kids will react differently at different times, just like we do.
Right.
So there's going to be seasons of where yes, that might be the cause. It might be a little more cranky this week. We had a lot more
Everyone
tears.
was more cranky
Everyone-
this week.
that is an excuse. That doesn't say it's okay to sin.
Right.
On the other end of it, right? You know,
Right.
and just in our walk, there are things that go on, yes, but
How do you react?
how do you react?
respond?
How do you respond to them?
It's good.
Any situation.
And it helps them do better the next week when they're taught and shepherded in that and saying, I know you're tired
Right.
and I know you feel this way, but how can we respond even when we feel, learning self-control? And I had a conversation with some of our younger kids this week, and I know you're upset and I know you're sad, and that's
Right.
okay to feel sad, even with our youngest who's having a hard time. But take a deep breath, blow it out,
Right.
walking them through that. So that's like the lower age, but it goes with the bigger ones. There's a lot of emotions, a lot of new things and new routines, and getting up early after sleeping in all summer. And
Mhm.
I know you feel this way. I'm not saying you can't feel that.
Right.
How do you respond when you feel that?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What is your takeaway?
Yeah, it's not an excuse to sin.
Right.
Snap at people, or because same goes for us.
Totally.
If we're tired, yeah, I'm tired, but I can't just be like, well, no, I just get to sin all
Right.
I want. I have all the
Bring
excuses.
it on, baby. Yeah. Yeah. The other one is having a child-centered home. So looking at analyze who controls the family. Parents remember that they are the authority in the household. And that doesn't mean that you're the loudest or you yell the loudest or you're the meanest in the family, right? Or the most manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing too, is you can be manipulating. Just like your children can be manipulating you. You get more of what you subsidize is what he talks about here.
Okay.
You get less of what you penalize. So if you are giving in to your child's wishes, guess what? They're going to want more of that, like on the bad sense, right? And if you penalize,
Knowing that you're eventually going to give in.
knowing that you're going to give in.
Okay.
I know I can do this. Mom and dad will subsidize whatever behavior so I can earn this. But if you penalize it, you're going to get less of that, whatever it might be. Let's do something behind it.
No, I thought I saw something.
Oh,
That was a dog.
oh, there's a dog. I'm going to make sure that we're still going. Okay. So child-centered home. Failure to discipline. Some parents believe that discipline squelches a child's personality. Child should be allowed to express themselves, and discipline creates robots. That idea of, oh, they have such a wild spirit. I want to encourage that.
Right. But not if it's disobedience.
Right.
We don't encourage sin,
Yeah.
but encourage who God's created them to be, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not sinful.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because you can take a stubborn child, and if they're under the control of God, that becomes steadfastness.
Mm-hmm.
This kid, but they have to learn to place themselves under the authority. God,
with us.
ultimately, starting with us,
And
we're
then,
teaching our
yeah.
children, no. Mom and dad said, we're the authority in the home. This is what happens, and
And then someday
No.
that moves into when they're on their own. Now God's my ultimate authority, and I will
Right.
submit to Him. Because usually stubborn children are still stubborn adults.
yeah,
But when it's used in the right direction, it's awesome.
right. They become steadfast.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, like we've heard it. You want to have total control when a child's little, and then as they get older, you have less and less that you're controlling. They're like in a
Funnel.
yeah, it's the funnel, right? I think Ted
Start
Tripp
small.
talks
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah.
Whereas some parents start off open, oh, we just let them express themselves all over the walls with color crayon. Like they're going to be the next Da Vinci. Like, no, they're going to be the next graffiti artist.
Right.
Chucked in jail. So you're going. You need to go the. That was a good one.
Oh, that's good actually.
I just came up with that. It's top
Good
the
job.
dome. They need to go the other way, or they want to go there, and then they try and control things.
So then the kid's 16 and they're trying to cinch it down,
Right,
and they're
right.
rebelling, and it's not
luck.
good. So starting out with structure, starting out with like, okay, bedtime. You know, I mean, we have 7 kids, and I remember learning this the hard way, and reading all the books. Like, how do we do this? And we'd sit outside the room, and you'd hear them get up, and like, nope, it's bedtime. And so you discipline, lay them back down, give them a kiss, sit outside their room, wait, like learning those basic things. And then we did it over and over and over 7 times.
I always love to like put my face right as they open the door and get back in the I want to do that sometimes. But
Yeah, it's tempting.
Yeah, that consistency.
But that's kind of an example of starting with those rules and that structure and
Right.
those basic things from a toddler. Bedtime, dinner, food. We're gonna sit at the table. This is
Mhm.
what's offered for you to eat.
Mhm.
You know, like
This is what you will be enjoying tonight.
with as the family, and I mean, obviously it's like you have this vision of your head of like, okay, the toddler's in the high chair peacefully eating all their green beans. Like, that's not what we're saying, but it's
Right.
setting that standard of, no, I'm not gonna go make you a whole nother meal because you don't like this meatloaf, or you know, like
Right.
setting that standard. And I know it's not your favorite, but here, try a bite.
Right.
And then as they get older, you can let go of some of that, because now they have that foundational piece that they are like, every once in a while now some of my kids will be like, Mom, I don't like that, can you make me a PB&J? I'm like, you're 9, and in the 9 years you've been alive, have I ever made you a PB&J because you don't like the dinner I made? And they're
Wait,
like,
what?
no. So they still ask, I mean, but
right.
they know it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's funny because it goes along with the next one, reasoning with your toddler, trying to negotiate with the child. You know, well, if you do this,
you want a cookie?
you do this.
Which,
You know,
there's a time and a place sometimes for some bribing, like in the middle of the grocery store. Just get through this, and I'll give you a cookie when we get to the car. But most of the time, at
But
home.
I would say most of the time it needs to be, hey, listen, you know,
Yes.
you need to,
This is the expectation.
right?
and-
Because
yeah.
again, subsidize. They're like, oh, if I throw a fit here, I can get what I want.
Mom's gonna freak out. Just
Mom-
give me whatever
yeah.
I ask
So
for.
they're smart enough, but
And
to
that's
try and
showing
reason
them,
with them.
and that's because it's showing them love. It's
Yeah.
loving them well when you're
Right.
willing to go spend the extra 15 minutes it takes disciplining and explaining and training, and okay, we're gonna practice this now.
Right.
Now you're gonna ask, can I have this cookie? I'm gonna say, no, you may not, and you're gonna say, okay, Mom, and put it back. Like, those things take a lot of time.
Yes.
But that's loving your child well versus like, no, grab the cookie, chuck it, you know.
Right, right. Well, and like, you know, you have, and I don't know if we've had people say this, I don't necessarily think so, but like, man, your kids are so well behaved, you just really lucked out. Again, I don't know, you know, you hear that in some circles, like, oh, you just maybe don't have my little, you know,
Yeah.
kiddo, he's a tornado. And like, no, we've got some tornadoes.
One of
And
ours we
it's
called the
just
Beast
the
for like
Beast.
3 years.
The Beast. He has fangs for the show. And it, you know, like he, yeah. But it was disciplining him, and it was
Consistent.
it takes
Yeah,
time. It
it
doesn't
does.
just, good parenting doesn't just happen.
No,
Like,
and it's still taking time. I
It's
mean, we're
still
still in
in
the
the
thick of it. Like,
of it.
it's not,
Yeah.
yeah. It's not like, oh, good, we're done. Now we can check out.
Right.
You
right.
can never check out as a parent. I think
Totally.
that's the thing. With the toddler, with the school-age kid, and a teenager, you cannot
Right.
just check out. You need
But-
to be present and
Even reasoning, you know, like reasoning with toddlers is difficult, but sometimes reasoning with teenagers is even,
more difficult.
yeah. They look like adults on the outside, but they still think like a teenager, right? So they still think, they have childish ways. They have.
Sure.
So it's, I think you're knowing the long game too, and like, okay, you know, this isn't gonna make sense to you at this point.
And explaining
we're
that to
doing
them.
that,
I know
yeah.
you don't understand why we made this decision
Right.
for no cell phone or whatever it might be. I know it doesn't make sense to you, but you need to just trust me. Again, that's helping them submit to authority, whether they
Right.
agree with it. Because sometimes we don't agree with what we think God thinks is best for us. We're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This would be way better if you just did it
I
this
don't
way,
want
God.
to do that.
So, but we've learned to submit underneath that and say, okay, I don't understand what you're doing, but I trust that you know what's best for
Well,
me.
think about in the Bible, like how many times when people submitted to God, the good things that happen. First and foremost is Christ, salvation, number one, and then like I'm reading through Joseph, right? And
The book of Joseph.
the book of Joseph, secret one.
I'm reading through Joseph.
I'm reading about Joseph. That's true. Genesis chapter something, 20 some odd, 30.
20
I don't know, somewhere in there. And it's talking about like Joseph, these things happened to him, and he could have rebelled against God and hated God. Potiphar, the thrown in jail, then the cupbearer forgets about him, and then 2 years later, and then what it produces, the things that came out of that, right?
And he was trusting God.
He was trusting God. Before that, you hear about Abraham, and even it was Jacob, and like God's not delivering on his promise, probably more so Abraham, and he goes with Hagar, right, and Ishmael. There's these times it's like
they tried
They
to
tried to
push God's hand.
push God's hand,
Yeah.
and so when we're looking at our kids, teaching them, you may not understand it now, but there's delight and there's blessing that come from seeing this through being steadfast.
It's hard to explain to a toddler, but you're still doing it with your
Right,
actions.
you won't explain it to a toddler. You will.
You
Hey,
cannot
let me
have
sit
the
you down.
14th cheese stick.
We're gonna go-
Here's
yeah.
why. Dairy
Yeah,
is
book
too
of-
hard on your
yeah.
tummy to eat that much.
Number 6 was neglecting your grade schooler. As your children age, they'll need fewer overt acts of discipline, but don't let their physical growth trick you into thinking they don't need your continued involvement in their lives. So,
It's true.
saying, no, we want to hand the baton off quicker than we should, I think,
Yeah.
and well, they don't need, their sins become different because they become inward.
Exactly.
Sins.
And so it's easy to just be like, I mean, there have been times where things like bubble up and kind of overflow, and then I'm like, well, yeah, when was the last time I disciplined you? It's been a long time.
Right. Yeah.
So you've been skirting by
Yeah.
under the radar. Not like you haven't been sinning,
Uh-huh.
but you've been real quiet about it for the last 6 months, and so here we are.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a good
Oh.
reminder, just being aware and watching those attitudes and those comments that are made, and you're like, wait a minute.
Right.
Like, it'd be easy to just be like, just go sit in your room, you just need to rest.
Right.
But are you disciplining first and say, you may not talk to me that way. Now you need to go sit in your room and
Right.
think about what you've done.
No, you go and you talk to them.
Exactly.
And you sit with them and try and and that's a hard thing is to walk through that, because they do some of it starts to click a little bit more. Some of the gears come into place a little bit more at that age.
For sure.
And then I'm understanding, like sin, when you're sinning, you're missing out on the joys that God has for you.
Mm-hmm.
We talk a lot about like fellowship is fun and teaching our kids. When you're disobedience, you're missing out on joy. And so trying to encourage them in
Yeah.
that.
Even when kids are fighting, you're like, is this fun? Would it be fun if you just put your selfish reasons aside and made peace, and
Right.
then you could enjoy the next hour of playing? Well, yeah. Okay, let's do that. Like, very
Let's go.
basic principle. Nobody's enjoying this right
Totally.
now.
Yeah. Number 7 was disrespecting your teenager. Your teenagers have mature bodies but immature minds. You must
Go ahead.
remember that and not treat them the way they treat you.
Ooh, that's hard.
Ooh, snapping. How dare you? Yeah. I think that's super important.
Yeah.
It's really hard because they're
It's hard to show someone respect when they're not showing you respect.
right.
Yeah.
But it's learning, it's teaching them, it's showing your response to them.
Yes.
I mean, they will, however you respond, you're sitting down with your child and you're walking them through something and you're teaching them, like, they look like they don't really care. You can almost guarantee if they're in that same situation with, like, let's say they're friends, they're going over some similar situation, they're going to repeat the things that you were telling them, right?
Yeah.
So they might not look like they're paying attention, and it's important to try, you don't want a kid like that, but
They are listening.
it's
Yeah.
they're little sponges,
they are.
so they're getting that into their heart. So letting them, whatever, just cool off, again, becomes bigger.
Right. Let's sweep it under the rug.
Yeah,
call it a
goes
day.
in, we're fine.
Yes.
That's not.
Yeah.
That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
It truly is.
Yeah.
And then 8, the last one was missing Christ. You can have a kid who's obedient and respectful, but in the long run of life strays from the Lord, disregards Scripture, never has a heart for Jesus. And I think a big part of that is showing your kids that you need Jesus too. We ask our kids to forgive us when we sin against them, and sin against. Ultimately, we're sinning against God. What do they got? Go get 'em.
Well, and if we genuinely love the Lord, and if we
Yeah.
genuinely place Him at the center of our lives,
Right.
they're going to see that. And so I think a lot of times if our faith is either not genuine or if it's pretty surfacey, that's going to overflow to them as well.
Right.
And if our faith is deep and they see like, wow, mom and dad really rely on the Lord, and
Love ya. You grabbing the lawnmower?
No.
Oh.
Coming over to play at your guys' place.
Oh, cool.
sweet.
Okay. Visitors from Africa. They walked here.
walked all the way. But yeah, I think it's just checking your own heart and saying, is the faith I have now in Christ what I want my kids to have
Right.
as adults? Because
Yes.
again, that absorption, they are really watching and learning, and then your genuine love for Christ and His Word, and if you're in His Word, that's going to overflow everything. It's going to overflow in these conversations you're having with your kids. It's going to overflow in your actions and what you're spending your money on, like every aspect of your life.
Right.
And that's still not a guarantee that a child will not stray.
Right.
But it's giving them the best foundation of like, wow, mom and dad love the Lord, and they really pointed us towards Him in all things, and that'll make it something for them to cling on to when
Yeah.
the time comes to make it their own.
You can't fake it till you make it.
Right.
It has to be, because God is a covenantal God. He says, listen and obey, and your children will be blessed. And when you, especially as a father, and moms, but dads providing that heart for their children,
Yeah.
that if they are a man after their own heart, they will have kids after a man after God's own heart.
I was like,
That too. They'll have kids that love the Lord, right? And follow Him. Again, there are times where, like a child might stray, but it's just so important to remember. I like that, because you can't just fake it and want your kids to look good.
we go to church every Sunday. We send them to a Christian school.
Right.
That's just checking the boxes.
Yeah.
Versus
Do you
really,
love the Lord?
do you love the Lord?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
read the Word? Are you living a life that's reflecting who Christ is to everyone around you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Cool. Okay. Well, that's it for this time. What do you have for recommendations?
Recommendations. Mine would be Seeing Green by Tilly DeLahaye. I didn't practice that.
DeLahaye.
DeLahaye. Tilly. Call it Tilly.
Okay.
Don't let envy color your joy. I'm only not quite halfway through it yet, but really good. A book on envy and the sin of envy and how that is so rampant and so destructive to Christians. So I do recommend that.
Yeah. What about the other one over there?
This
Been
one?
reading that? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, so this one is a special one. This is written by Micah Smith, who our Micah is named after. Heaven's Heartbeat, Personal Reflections on Hearing the Heart of God. You can actually get it on Amazon. He published this like 10 years ago. And it's almost like a devotional. Like there's a scripture verse and then a story that he relates to that. And there's 90 of them. I'll just read a couple a day, kind of. And so it's really cool. He was a pastor for quite a few years, and now he runs a nonprofit organization called Global Gateway Network. My dad's actually on the board for that too, and yeah, so he just has a lot of experience, a lot of travel, and a lot of just life experience. It was just really cool, and he really loves the Lord, so I recommend that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I got the fun stuff.
Okay.
I got this game, Risk Strike, as we're heading into the fall season, tucking on a little bit more. This is a fast Risk. If anybody knows Risk, it can take
Not fast.
forever. So, I've never played it, but no, I kind of started playing it with the kid.
It's not been that fast.
Yeah, they took over and stuff like that, but it's really fun. I think it'll be good. Something going on back there. Okay, this is a gem. This
I
is
literally almost threw that away this morning. I was cleaning out under their bed and I found it. Like, this looks old.
This looks old. It smells old. This is when I was a kid. This is at the library, and I would look at this. It wasn't 99 cents back then, but this is Ed Emberlee's. I wonder what Ed's up to these days.
I'm sure he's passed on.
I'm gonna look him up. I'm gonna say, dude, I need a signature. It'd have to be a thumbprint though. So look at this. You can get an ink pad, and you can make all of these fun.
I want to do this one.
All these fun things.
I think a spider.
A bird.
Okay.
I used to crack open my pens and stick my fingers in.
No, I'm sure Mom loves that.
Oh shoot, she might be that. Yeah. So,
Okay.
this is really fun. So,
Oh, skeleton.
skeleton. Yeah, coming up. Cowboy. Ooh, holidays. Look at that, dude.
Turkey.
Abraham Lincoln turkey. Oh, little witch thumb. Oh, George Washington. That is not George Washington. I don't know what that is. Flowers. Do they have Santa? Oh, Valentine's, Easter Bunny, a pilgrim.
I don't know if they can see. Okay.
These are cute. These are
I
cute.
don't know if they
yeah.
want to see.
Look at this, guys. George Washington.
All
Birthday
right,
cake.
I think we're done.
Birthday cake. Oh, Santa, right there.
Okay. That's
Here's
terrible.
Santa. It's like a Norwegian Santa. So.
Okay.
Oh, devil. We shouldn't have that anymore.
Never mind.
Never mind.
Don't get that far.
Ed, sorry. Emberly. Okay.
All right. Until next time.
Until next time. Timber. That's what we did.
Like Sam through the hourglass.
So are the days of our lives.
Oh, that wasn't recording.
Oh, just kidding.